about high school. If I were to ask you this and give you a second to think about it, would you come up with chemical equations and mathematical equations and how awesome Beowulf was? Or would you think about your teachers and your friends and what you did before school and after school and how it all came together and made a great experience? Well, if we asked a homeschooled child this, they would probably come up with different answers. Homeschooling poses a risk to students in today's society because it's not firmly regulated and prevents students from developing social skills, also withholding them from important life experiences, and therefore, I believe it should no longer be allowed. Homeschooling lacks regulation not only when it comes to curriculum, but also when it comes to enrichment and child and health and safety. The North Carolina Department of Non-Public Education sets curriculum policies that don't do much more than say that there simply has to be a curriculum. Okay. I thought I would show you guys the website that I actually got this information from, and this is the website for the North Carolina requirements for homeschooling education. There are 7 bullet points, and those are the only 7 bullet points that there are for requirements. Basically, it says that you have to have a high school diploma or its equivalent to teach your child. Also, you have to notify the government of your intent. You have to operate on a regular schedule. You have to hold nationally standardized achievement tests, but you don't have to present the results. You just have to keep the results. That doesn't seem like much, but moving on to Wisconsin, as you can see, are there any educational or training requirements for the parents? No, there aren't. Also, is there any testing or assessment involved? No, you do not have to test. This is the United States regulation. The Wisconsin is in yellow and North Carolina is in orange. And as you can see, that moderate to low regulation make up about 4/5 of the United States. And also, the green states represent the states that have no notice and no regulation. So basically, there's not much going on anywhere. Now, because of this lack of regulation and people having an insight into the home, students are also at risk physically. In an article I read by Davina Mims on CNN, there's 3 children, it was 9, 11, and 15 years old. They were found abused and terribly beaten by their adopted parents, and they were also all 3 completely illiterate. Now, the mother said that she had been homeschooling them, but obviously because there was no regulation, nobody knew what was going on. And unfortunately, this occurs a lot more than you would think. In Margaret Boyce's article, The Effects of Homeschooling on Children, she says, many children have an observant parent to thank for rescuing them from an abusive parent situation or for their life. To whom can they turn when the children are living strictly at home? Now, because they're not exposed to the diverse and expansive population that you would be exposed to in public or private schooling, they're deficient in social skills and life skills necessary to operate in college and in the workplace. Now, if your family are the only people you're exposed to, you're going to be minimalized with who you're socializing with and who you're comfortable socializing with. Now, if you're going to a non-home-based educational facility, there's going to be a range of the entire scope of socioeconomic backgrounds and cultural and racial backgrounds. And if you're not exposed to that, then this could harm you not only into college but also into the workplace. Because according to Education Bug, and also according to me, and probably most of you, what's the most challenging thing that you have to deal with? Teamwork. We've been working on it, and it's really difficult, and it's something that you struggle with. Now, if you're developing teamwork with your siblings and your mother, that's probably very different than the kind of teamwork that you're going to develop with 7 completely different strangers that you've never met before. Also, the freedom in scheduling when it comes to homeschooling, because your parent is the one allowing you. Sometimes you're not used to their time frames and deadlines that would confine you. And then coming to college and having 50-minute classes and a complete lack of one-on-one instruction can be very difficult to adjust to. Now, strangers and time frames might not sound that awesome, but that's what you're exposed to in high school, and then that's what you get used to, and it becomes something that you're not noticeable. But what you're also exposed to is a variety of opportunities when it comes to classes that other schooling offers, like different levels and different varieties and extracurricular activities. Now, if you only have one teacher in homeschooling, that means that you're not going to be exposed or offered any sort of special education, which can range from academically gifted students to students with special needs. Now, AP classes might not sound fun as well, but they're really good for you, and those teachers are there because they're very highly qualified and because they have resources like science labs and computer technology and those really high qualifications that most typical homeschooling teachers would not have and be able to offer. Also, students with special needs would be an advantage at schools outside of the home because of the equipment and medical resources available to them. Also, the multiple caretakers that special care programs offer. And the socialization with other students that have disabilities would allow them to feel socialized and less isolated as they would being alone with their family. That came from North Carolina Exceptional Children's Division from the Board of Education. Now, no enrichment requirements means that there might not be that much enrichment, and it's not definitely required. Now that means no physical, artistic, or social opportunities are going to be there. And if you have to hone your skills when it comes to hobbies or talents, that's all going to be based on your parents' skill set. But when you come to a public or private school, you're going to be offered art classes, band, theater, shop, auto tech, and that's all going to be free. And you're not going to have to go seeking things outside of the home and paying $50 per class. And finally, we come back to the basics, what I asked you. What do you remember? Now, you might remember going to the games, or being in the games, or planning prom, or going to prom, and also recycling club on Tuesdays, and band sectionals on Wednesdays, and yearbook committee on Thursdays. And there's so much, and that's what all comes together, and that's what means the most. And what means the most is what homeschooling lacks. It lacks regulation, it puts our children's minds and bodies at risk, it dampens their social development, and their fun, and the friendships that they can also develop. I'd like to end in quoting Margaret Boyce and saying, "We don't allow people to play doctor without a license, nor a lawyer without passing rigorous tests. But today, anyone who wants to play school can do so, regardless of their educational background." Recently, some parents have been jailed for withholding medical treatment from their children, and yet we almost make heroes of those who do the same with their children's education. I believe that homeschooling should no longer be allowed, and hopefully some of you are starting to see it that way too.